up next we have two of our FASET Academy members, which is the leadership team that has really helped to organize and been, my right hand in getting this FASET ready for you. Really thought that you need to know, most importantly, about where Georgia Tech spirit started and about our tech traditions and the history behind them. So I want you to give a big round of applause for Schmidt and Taylor Rose, who have put together a great presentation.
So we're going to take a few minutes. Some of our leaders are passing out some little gifts for you. You'll see when you get them, they are song cards that have all the words to our most important songs.
And they're legit.
Does everybody have their cards?
Sorry.
Anybody else?
Oh, get him.
Everyone's pretty much getting settled in. But just to reiterate, I'm Taylor.
Yeah, I'm Sierra.
Cool. And so since Tech was founded in 1885, we've really developed a culture that's rich in history and traditions. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with one story that happened in 1893 that kind of pretty much laid the groundwork for all of Georgia Tech's major traditions. Now, in 1893, Georgia Tech was a trade school, so there wasn't much to do other than go to class or work in the shop. And the whistle only blew from 9 to 5, so there was a lot of free time to kill out here in what was the wilderness of Atlanta.
So, in 1892, some students decided to form a football team. And at the time, football wasn't really popular. Baseball was by far the more popular sport across the country. But they decided to form this football team, and they played against Mercer, which is another local school. And Georgia Tech lost, 73-0. It's terrible, very embarrassing. But they decided to start practicing some more. They practiced over at Piedmont Park. We didn't have a football field at the time. Campus was pretty swampy back then, so they practiced at Piedmont Park, but they really didn't get much better.
And so at these practices was an onlooker by the name of Leonard Wood. And now Leonard was a Harvard-educated physician and also a captain in the Army, and he was stationed at nearby Fort McPherson. And he was so bored at Fort McPherson that every day he'd ride into Atlanta and try to find something to amuse himself, and these practices amused him. Because Georgia Tech was so terrible, but luckily for Georgia Tech, he approached the men, and Leonard had played football at Harvard, and so he offered to not only coach the team, but also play with them.
But there was a problem. Leonard Wood wasn't a student at Georgia Tech, so he wasn't technically eligible to play on the football team. But he figured out a way to solve this. He gathered some of his friends that also played football, and they all enrolled as students at Georgia Tech. Now, as you remember, Leonard Wood was already a physician, so he was very well educated already. But nonetheless, he enrolled as a student, and we only had one major at the time, so he became a student of mechanical engineering.
And so at the same time, there was another school in Georgia, located up in Athens, that was preparing a football team as well, and they issued a proclamation to the state of Georgia challenging any football team in the state of Georgia, saying, if you play us, we will play you and beat you. And so Georgia Tech gladly accepted that challenge, and they rode up to Athens, and with them they brought a girls' school, and they encouraged the girls to wear something to show their support for Tech. So the girls wore ribbons of white and gold in their hair, which is the first instance of our official school colors, white and gold, being used.
So at this game, Georgia Tech did much better than they had done before. It was actually very embarrassing for UGA. By the end of the third quarter, we were ahead 28-6. So at this point, the UGA players were very upset. As Taylor said, they were pretty confident they were going to win. So they started rebelling. They started grabbing rocks, dirt, mud, basically anything they could get their hands on, and started throwing these things at our players and at the officials. Violence escalated quite a bit, and the game had to be called, even though the fourth quarter hadn't been played yet.
So the Tech team needed to get out of there immediately so that no one would get hurt any further. Leonard Wood actually was like bleeding from a gash in his head, which was really cool. But they couldn't get on the passenger train that they had scheduled because they were leaving early, so they hopped on a freight train. But because they left earlier than scheduled, the tracks weren't cleared, and Georgia Tech's train actually crashed into another train on the tracks.
So a sports reporter from Atlanta happened to be on the train to record all the action. And he watched as the players from Tech got off of their train and got onto the other train that they crashed into, because that one was still in pretty good shape. And you know, they all got back to campus and were very happy to be back. Not happy about the game, but happy to be back. And the next day, the sports writer would remark in the paper that the Wrecks rambled back to Tech. And this is really important because it's the first instance that students at Tech were referred to as Ramblin Wrecks.
Right, so they got back to campus and they were a little upset about what had happened at the game. You know, they had practiced so hard, but due to UGA's complete lack of class, which interestingly enough is another tradition that we still have today, due to UGA's inability to complete the game, it just was kind of a wash. And so to vent these frustrations, one of the students grabbed a mandolin and he began to play a song about all of the indulgences of being a Tech student and how fun it was. And this song that he played that night has actually morphed into what is the modern day Ramblin Wreck. So if you guys, this is sung at every official school event. So since this is an official school event, get up. And you can follow along on your song chords or on the lyrics on the screen.